Off Double Fantasy, the last album that he and Yoko ever made. Yeah.
God is a Concept. God is a great song by McCartney or Lennon had such great solo work, but it's so opposite of what McCartney was doing at the time, which I think made if you added all the tracks together, you'd have a Beatles album. If you took McCartney's annoying bubblegum rock and mixed it with Lennon's, kind of intentionally non-bubblegum rock and put it together, you'd have the White Album. Maybe they'd call it the Pink Album.
So you didn't like a lot of Paul's solo stuff? A little too poppy for you?
I liked it, but I will always opt for Lennon. But with the Beatles, I like McCartney songs too. It's weird. I mean, I like McCartney songs, but Lennon songs seem to invoke or bring out more emotion in me. They make me think more, be more introspective. Where there's only so often we could hear silly love songs.
Right.
But yeah, Baby I'm Amazed is a great one.
Well, I'll pull one out on you. How about While My Guitar Gently Weeps by George Harrison?
Well,
that just rips my heart out every time I hear it.
Mine, if you're talking Harrison, Here Comes the Sun. It's just, that was my mom and dad's song in high school. So I guess maybe, I don't know. It's just, I like that song. It makes me feel good. You put them all together. Besides Ringo, probably, and Ringo is still he's as charismatic, if not more, than all the Beatles. So
doesn't every band needs a Ringo, don't they?
I guess they do, but how many bands didn't have one?
Yeah.
The Stones had three. Because Mick and Keith. The drummer. What's his name? I could see him.
Watts? Charlie Watts?
Charlie Watts. There's the one guy who died, and then the other guy who looks like one of the Black Crows. I don't know their names, but like Zeppelin certainly didn't have a Ringo. Every one of them were contributing, and each element of the music I think was so important: the bass, the drums, the vocals, and of course the guitar.
And yet, Nick, I believe this is true. When the band broke up, when the Beatles split, it was Ringo who had the first number one song of all four of them.
That is true. I don't know the song.
Is it Don't Come Easy, I think?
Something like that.
Yeah. That's even going behind, well back before my time when I was really, really into music. But I think he did have the first number one song of think about the talent assembled. That foursome, just unbelievable.
Well, I look at the. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it just goes to show when I listen to today's music, which to me, I don't want to sound like the old man telling people to get off their lawn. I don't want to sound like that. But really, are we going to be listening to Justin Bieber 30 years from now and going, "Oh my God, what an anthem that was"?
Yeah,
the Bieber and the Beast or whatever.
Yeah.
Come on, really? And I love Katy Perry for obvious reasons, but her songs aren't going to be around for. Another 10, 15
No, I think years? Justin Timberlake's songs will endure.
Yes.
He's a talent. And I think it's part of it. It's part of his act. He's a good dancer. He has a good rhythm. He's a throwback to Michael Jackson. I think he'll endure. I think he will. But, yeah, I agree with you for the most part. And then when you hear young people saying, and, again, we sound like two old fogies, but you hear young people saying, the Beatles, they suck.
Oh, I hear that all the time.
You may not like them, but they don't suck. That's like saying Will Chamberlain sucked. You didn't like them, but if it wasn't for Wilt, there'd probably be no, Kareem. If there wasn't Kareem, there'd probably be no Shaq. And if there wasn't Shaq, there'd probably be no Dwight Howard.
And what I say to the youngsters when they say, the Beatles suck, or U2 sucks, or the Stones suck, I say, then why are you sampling their friggin' music? In your new songs.
Every night. Yeah, every day, every night. That's the thing. You look at the Beatles, and here's four guys who collectively I think were so talented, but in the beginning I think it was more a developmental thing. And the thing I love about that band is to listen to them in 1963 albums, and then 1966, or 65, 66, 68, and then finally, Abbey Road or Let It Be. There's just such a transformation between beginning to end. They became and another underrated band for being trendsetters would be the Beach Boys.
Very much so. Great sound. And Brian Wilson with Pet Sounds rivals Sgt. Pepper.
I think Scotty's on the line.
Very cool. Let's go out to the 860.
The Scotsman. It's a long time no talk.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh, having some fun. This has been an unusual night, Scotty.
Well, I tuned in and then I tuned out for a little while to get some work done, for school stuff, and then I tuned back in and I hear you guys talking about great bands and Ty. Yeah, look, I'm 35 and I can't listen to the majority of music that probably came after 2000, to be honest with you. I mean, there are some people that are talented. I mean, I don't necessarily listen to a lot of the stuff, but I think Taylor Swift is a very talented musician. She can sing, play instruments. I think Alicia Keys is a very talented musician. Not exactly my favorite, but she's a very, very gifted at what she does. Nick brought up Justin Timberlake. I think he's very good. Usher. Neo. I think he's a very talented R&B musician. As much as I don't like a lot of,
they're fine.
I had a disdain for them. I had a disdain for them when I was younger, so I think it lasted a long time. But obviously, I have a certain respect for Donnie Wahlberg for some reason. I just don't know exactly what.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose Scotty?
We lost Scotty in a moment of non-Celtics. This is classic stuff, and we lost him.
What did he say? He can't listen to music after 2000, right?
Yeah, maybe we'll get him back. He dropped. He'll call back.
Yeah. He makes a good point. I really, Nick, I think back. I'm stuck in the 80s to a certain degree. I told you I love hair bands. I still listen to a lot of that stuff. I'm trying to get musical acts from that era on our show. So I won't even tell you who I've been reaching out to.
I know one of them.
Yeah, you do know one of them, and we've gotten the green light, but I'm just waiting for confirmation. And there are others that are continuing to tour, and there's a reason why they're continuing to tour, because people want to see them play.
Scotty's back.
Oh, okay, let's go back to Scotty. Scotty, you there?
Hey, guys, I was talking. I heard you guys, responding to me and stuff, and I was like, next thing you know, I dropped off. I don't know what happened.
It went dead air. But anyway, you were saying after 2000, and you had gone in to mention a couple people who have talent, but and then you were saying but and got cut off.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just, for the most part, I don't like most of the music from after 2000. I mean, I don't like a lot of rap music, but I think Eminem's very gifted at what he does. I can't stand most rap music. I like Train. Mm-hmm. I think they're a very good band. But for the most part, I'm into...
Train, their songs are all starting to sound the same, aren't they?
A little bit, but I think they kind of have that niche. It's kind of like Nickelback.
Yeah.
They have a couple good songs that sound a certain way, and then they just kind of run with it. They don't need to reinvent themselves, I guess, because if it works, it works. But for me, most of my favorite music, I grew up in the 80s, so I like the hair bands. I actually like the old school rap and hip hop, but I think out of everything, my favorite is 90s R&B groups like Shy, Silk,
nice.
H-Town, Boys to Men. That's my favorite thing right there. That's the stuff that I still drive around, blasting in my car, thinking I'm young and cool, and Keith Sweat, all that
Scotty,
kind of stuff.
I would never have expected that.
Either.
I would never have expected that, because you're looking at a guy that really loved that stuff in the 90s, and I have a little iTunes jukebox of it, the 90s with Tony, and groups like that. Really enjoy that sound. I miss that R&B. I really liked R&B back then. Now I don't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's why I like guys like Usher and Neo.
Yeah.
Trey Songz is actually pretty good, too. Guys that kind of hit that certain style of music. And it's funny as this is going to sound, I think that when most people kind of hit that, when kids are in like middle school and high school, I think that's when people's musical identity kind of most comes to them. So that's why I love that stuff. It was so good, in the 90s. Just R&B was it was big. There was all those groups that came out. New Edition, I love that. Johnny Gill, Belle Biv DeVoe, all that kind of stuff.
Belle Biv DeVoe.
It's absolutely amazing. And I'd rather drive around listening to that stuff than listen to most of the new stuff. Some of it's
That's
okay.
my era too.
Are there any groups, Scotty? Are there any groups out there now that you actually like?
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to make a confession, because as a father, you have to start listening to certain things that your children do. And I catch myself, One Direction doesn't bother me. Justin Bieber doesn't bother me, because I think, yes, some of it's annoying, but at the same time, he's actually a pretty talented musician. When you get down to it, I think that just the way he's marketed is pretty ridiculous. But just if I think it sounds good, I'll listen to it. But I always go back to the old faithful. I mean, I drive around with Tribe Called Quest, Naughty by Nature, LL Cool J. That's the stuff that I listen to. I mean, I don't like country, not really, so I don't listen to any of that stuff. I don't like any of the weird, stupid emo / metal /
Yeah.
I mean,
that
I think
screaming.
most of that stuff sucks.
I can't stand that screaming music where it sounds like an exorcism is taking place. Kids, I can't. Like, I look at my cousin, he's 22, and his younger brother is 19, and I say, what are they even saying? And they don't know what they're saying either. It's just, I'm like, someone please go over and give these guys a hug. They're so angry.
Yeah, it's just yelling and screaming on speed is what it sounds like. And I mean, it's not music. I think the problem is, you look at groups nowadays, and I think that's, it's another thing where, even as much as like the 90s, I still have an appreciation for groups like Smokey Robinson and the Commodores and Lionel Richie, stuff where music was music. And like you, Ty, I hate to sound like the old guy saying, hey, you young punks, you guys, don't know what it's like in my day, because I didn't walk up to school uphill both ways. I'm not like that. But I just think musically, I just think that the way that things are now, everything is a remix. Everything samples from something from the last 20 years. Right. It's a lot of auto-tune. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just doesn't. It's not as much music anymore as it is, like techno beats with some kind of sped up lyrics, or like a lot like house music. I don't get it.
I never got that either. I clubbed a lot. I hated it.
I mean,
I can't say
congratulations. I don't mind seeing girls, shake their butts to a fast beat and everything. Don't get me wrong, but it's at the same time, that's not. They don't call it house music. Just call it, a bunch of remixes. I mean, because that's all it really is. So, I kind of have my thing.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just saying, I kind of have, my thing, the stuff that I like, but I tend not to stray off of that too much unless I hear something specific that actually catches my ear, and which is funny because that's actually how I ended up starting to listen to a little bit of the Justin Bieber stuff, because I heard the song that he did from the Karate Kid soundtrack, and I didn't know it was him, and I was jamming out one night at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, oh wow, this song's awesome. Never say never. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then I'm like, oh crap. That's great. I should have known. But go ahead, Ty. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask you, do you like the format? You like what we're doing here?
Oh yeah, this is cool. It's honestly, as much as I love sports, and obviously, some people have told me that I'm an over-the-top emotional homer, or I have very strong opinion on sports. Yeah, no. I know. I can't believe it either.
I can't.
It's actually cool to sit there and relax and get away from it for a while and talk about things like, food and music. I tried calling in a couple of weeks ago when you guys were talking about different kinds of beers and getting drunk and stuff. So I think I called in too late, but this is cool. It's a different release. It's a different topic, subject matter altogether, and it's actually just good to get away from sports for a while, considering that we're still in the doldrums of sports right now, with baseball being the only thing that's actually on, and all due respect to people who like baseball, but it's too slow and boring for me. I mean, football starts soon, basketball starts after that, so we'll pick back up. But I like being able to talk about stuff like this. It's actually very refreshing to listen to what other people's opinions are about music and food and beer and pretty much all non-sports topics.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that was the idea. I wanted to know more myself. I wanted to know more about the Celtics fans that we talked to in the post-game show on other shows on the network. I wanted to know more about who these people